For what you've seen tonight. So let me bring Sara up. Sara was born and raised in Richmond, and before going north to what is now the University of Mary Washington for her bachelor's degree in political science. She spent several years working for congressional candidates and followed that with 3 years on Capitol Hill. Probably more importantly, in 2006, she and her family, her husband Dan, who's here tonight, has been helping us with some video and some photos tonight. Thank you, Dan. Their 2 boys and 2 adopted girls from Asia moved to China with a missions organization, and for 3 years she worked with university students and business professionals, taught English and cross-cultural skills, and served as a marketing director for a large Christian international school. They returned to Richmond in 2009, and Sara, you're getting one final perspective. Sara plays a role that's pretty unique at RCLI that we haven't talked about. Sara has served as a shepherd. Each year, several folks volunteer to give their times to be shepherds to the class. And so they are there simply as a resource, as kind of a person to draw the crowd, the folks together. They attend the sessions, they're in there with the students, and they really go through the course for the entire full year. It's a tremendous commitment that our shepherds make, and Sara has played that role, and as a result of that, continued on to join the board, and has had great thoughts as she has helped us try and lead RCLI. Now she finds herself serving in a demanding and critical role as the scheduler and special assistant to the office of the Virginia's Attorney General. She's well positioned to kind of give you guys some closing remarks for tonight. So would you please welcome Sara Kennedy.
Thank you. It occurs to me that there probably aren't very many people in this room who would like to follow Dr. Kenny. Any yeah, including this one. But I'm so thankful for the opportunity. As JG mentioned, my husband and I and our family returned recently from the missions field, and we were working in a closed country. Before we went on the field, we went to pre-field training, and we studied the culture. We learned the things that were going to be important to the people that we were called to serve, the ways that they related to one another. And in studying that, we became attuned to what I like to call strategic intentionality. Both being strategic about the way we lived, about the way we worked, and also being very intentional about our time. Like many people of our generation, my husband and I had moved from city to city around the United States following jobs. Obviously Washington, D.C. to be on Capitol Hill, and then we followed my husband's job for a while. We landed in some great cities, D.C., Cincinnati, Grand Rapids, coming back here to Richmond. But we never saw any of those places particularly as a mission field. We saw them as great places to buy a house, to make friends, to invest in a local church, maybe find the great restaurants and the great museums. We were living, as Dr. Kinney said, on one side of the shore, and on that side there were really good things. We gave money to different organizations. We were, we worked in the nursery. We really did care about a very small slice of those cities, but it was just one side of the story. Serving in China changed everything for us. I remember a friend who liked to tease that we were the kind of people that God had to move 8,000 miles out of our comfort zone in order to get our attention. But he did. He got our attention, and in his goodness, he let us be a part of stories that would knock your socks off. Amazing things that he is doing in the communist country of China. We witnessed God strategically place people with particular gifts and passions and stories that aligned in a perfect way with the needs of the people around us. You couldn't have dreamed up some of these things. And so, living this strategically intentional life for 3 years and seeing God move in beautiful and big ways, with really messed up people, like, sorry honey, my husband and I, we kind of dreaded coming back to the United States. My mom was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and we knew we needed to come back so that my kids could get to know her. But we were really nervous. We had seen the other side. We had seen a really, really big God, a God much bigger than we understood him to be before we left. And we were kind of afraid we were going to slip right back into that vanilla ice cream kind of life. we wanted to bring with us that element of being strategic and being intentional that we had been trained towards. It's a life-giving, perspective-stretching thin place between the eternal and the temporal that we don't always get to see if we stay within our own culture. In God's providence, we were introduced to RCLI almost immediately when we came back, and I cannot tell you the sweet relief that we felt. We were home. We had found the place where there was pre-field training and a mission field, and there was no Mandarin language lesson required. Excellent. We were so thankful. At RCLI, we find a place full of people asserting that they are not just living in the city of Richmond. They are called to the city of Richmond, and they're not just called. They've been equipped and trained and prepared. They are passionate. They see this city as a place that God strategically intended for them to use their gifts. And so, in a very real and eternal way, they insist that it mattered that they lived here in 2011. And so, together, we studied Richmond's hurts and triumphs, its cultures, its subcultures, its leadership, its places of brokenness. They come to this very place to pray over this city. They go out and pray in this city. They pray for this city. They ask God to use whatever they have for His glory and for the good of this place. For all these reasons, my little talk is an absolute 100% endorsement of this program. It is the best pre-field training I have ever seen for a city. But please do not misunderstand. You and I, not being a part of the class of RCLI, are not off the hook. Wherever we are called, that's to our neighborhoods, our houses of worship, our places of employment, we should have the same eyes, for if Christ lives in us and we live here, we should be insisting that it matter that we're here in 2011 in the Richmond metropolitan area. And honestly, the dirty little secret about missions life is that it is way easier to be missional and intentional when you live overseas. People expect you to live differently. They look at you and they say, hey, in Chinese, you're not from around here. And it's a great opportunity to be intentional because they don't expect you to live the way that they do or think the way they do or prioritize the things that they prioritize. Being strategic and intentional in your own culture is a lot harder. It feels revolutionary. You can think of the pre-reading about Christ. On the outside, he looked like everyone in his culture, but on the inside, he carried and he offered the only thing that has ever really mattered: reconciliation with God. Think of Eric's story, being touched by the plight of refugees, and then looking now to make business decisions based on the prism of eternity. Think of what Dr. Kenny just shared with us. There wasn't anything particularly wrong about the way we were living. There wasn't anything wrong with it. But boy, were we missing what God had for us living that way. When God lifts up the veil and he shows you what he's doing and he shows you his heart for a place, you cannot help but be moved and touched. Standing here right now, I could just this is it, guys. This is our mission field, and it's so precious to the heart of God. And I am so thankful that he gave Fritz and others the vision to say, we need people trained to be the missionaries and ambassadors here. And I am so thankful that it's not just the people who go through this program that he's called here. I'm going to turn this over to Gwen to pray. But before I do, I just would ask that you take a moment and just look out at what you've been called to. We serve such a good and awesome God, and He loves us. And because He loves us, He gave this gift to us. Thank you for coming tonight.